We have come, at last, to the end of the road. We began on our knees, with about the hardest confession a person can make. Then we walked the whole long story, out a garden, through a flood, and a promise, and a name, and a people, and a king, all the way to the one man who carried the mind of God without a single crack in it. We spent a movement learning how that mind is formed in the likes of us, and another learning to carry it out into a hostile world, down a road that runs through a cross. And the last chapter left us walking that road with our lamps lit, never more than a breath from a wedding we have not yet seen. So let us see it, for everything, every page of all of this has been walking toward what happens next. When the waiting finally ends, it ends with a wedding. John, given a glimpse of it, heard what sounded like the roar of a great multitude. Let us rejoice and exult and give him the glory, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his bride has made herself ready. Revelation, chapter 19, verses 6 and 7. This is the moment the whole Bible has been straining toward. Every thread we followed on the long road. The covenant cut at Sinai like a marriage. The heartbroken prophets pleading with an unfaithful spouse. The king who came not to condemn his bride, but to wash her and make her his own. All of it arrives here at a wedding supper, the long betrothal over forever. And do you remember what she is wearing? We said it at the close of the workshop. The gown is the life that has been formed in her, the slow, daily, received work of a remade mind, woven into a garment bright and pure. Revelation chapter 19, verse 8. All of it, every quiet obedience, every wound born in love, every measure of his mind received on an ordinary Tuesday, turns out to have been the threads of a wedding dress. But the deepest thing that happens at that wedding is not the feast, it is the face. Go back to where this whole book began. We started with a terror most people never say aloud, that the Jesus living in your head might be one you assembled yourself, built out of your preferences, your tribe, your wounds, and that you could never be entirely sure because you cannot climb outside your own mind to check it against the real thing. We have spent 23 chapters building the best safeguards God gives, the Word, the Spirit, the body, the faithful providence beneath them all, and every one of them, I have told you honestly, can be bent. This side of the wedding, you walk by faith, and you see, in Paul's own piercing phrase, in a mirror dimly. That is Paul's word. The mirror, the same dim glass we have been circling since the first page. Now, hear how the sentence ends. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12. And John says the same impossible thing. We shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is. 1 John chapter 3, verse 2. Do you see what that means? The very thing this entire book has fought, the made-up mind, the counterfeit you could never quite rule out, dies forever the instant you see his actual face. Every false Jesus you ever carried, every version bent toward your comfort or your side or your fear, evaporates in a single look at the real one. The mirror is gone. The dimness is gone. You will know him fully, the way you have always been fully known by him, and you will never be fooled again. The question we could not answer on the first page, how would you ever tell the real from the made-up, receives its final answer right here, and it is gloriously simple. One day, face to face, you simply will. And then, the world itself. John watched it come, a new heaven and a new earth, and the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. In a great voice spoke the oldest, deepest promise of all, kept at last. Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and God himself will be with them. Revelation chapter 21, verses 1 to 3. Stop and feel the size of that, because it closes the whole circle. The story began in a garden, where God walked with people in the cool of the day, And where a mind grabbed for a crown it was meant to receive, and the walking stopped, and the presence was lost. The entire long road has been God working his way back to that walk. And here it is, better than Eden, not merely restored but fulfilled, God dwelling with his people, his face uncovered forever. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore. Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. The tree of life, shut away since the garden, stands open again in the middle of the city. Revelation chapter 22, verse 2. And the people he made to be his imagers, the rulers Adam was always meant to be, before he grabbed, take up at last the vocation lost so very long ago. They will reign forever and ever. Revelation chapter 22, verse 5. The bride reigns, not with a borrowed crown or a made-up mind, but with the mind of Christ, fully and finally her own, at the side of her king. The made-up mind began in a garden with a grab. It ends in a garden city with a gift. And notice, because the thread that is run through every chapter runs right up to the final knot, how all of it arrives. The city comes down, out of heaven from God. The bride does not build it, she receives it. The garment is not earned. Revelation says plainly that it was granted her to wear. The bride made herself ready, yes, but her readiness was itself a gift, a thing received a measure at a time across a whole life on the bench. Even the throne is not seized. It is given by the king who already holds it. From the first confession to the last crown, the spine of this whole book never once bends. Not achieved, received. Grace all the way home. So, here's the last thing, and it is for you right now, today, still carrying a mind only half remade, still catching yourself at the old mirror. This is not a far-off fairy tale to be admired from a distance. It is the destination of the actual work being done in you this very week. The word that cut you on Sunday, the prompting of the Spirit you almost missed on Monday, the friend who told you the hard truth on Tuesday, the small dying to self you offered on Wednesday. Those are not religious busywork. They're threads in the dress. They're the throne being readied. The slow, unspectacular, mostly invisible forming of the mind of Christ in you is the beginning of the wedding. So keep going. Stay on the bench. Stay hungry. Stay near the word, near the breath, near the others. Keep receiving a measure at a time, and do not despair on the days the counterfeit seems to win, because the one who began this good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. He finishes what he starts. He will present you ready. We began this whole journey on our knees with a prayer that ran something like this. I confess I keep making up a mind of my own. I would rather have his. I want the real Jesus, not the one I built, but the one who is actually there. That prayer has been the entire road. And here, at the end, is where it finally lands. Not in a certainty you manufactured inside your own head, but in a face you will one day see with your own eyes. From Adam, all the way home. And one day, a single breath from now, we shall see him as he is, and be like him, and never make up another thing again.